Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. So this video is an album review on Japan's debut album in 1977 called Adolescent Sex. Um, this was the band's first album, of course. They had got together probably in 1974, 1975, so a couple years into their career. I think one thing I think that's really cool about this album is it almost sounds like a new glam sound, like a new glam rock sound. Like you have, your New York Dolls and Roxy Music and stuff like that, and they sort of had like a little bit of sort of artsy rock to them. I don't. Japan was a little bit, I think, a little bit more forward. I think, of course, later on they, introduced some electronics and maybe a new romantic new wave style to it, but this particular album, their first couple, anyways, is a little bit more rocky, a little bit more rock and roll, and it almost sounds like an evolution, a really, I wouldn't say groundbreaking anyway, but it's kind of like an evolution of glam rock, and it's surprisingly a lot more funky. I think a lot more catchy. It has dashes of other genres as well. This album has a lot of good songs for sure. There's definitely some ones with some good jams in here. If you're a person that likes like progressive rock, I think if I think people that would be interested into progressive rock would find this album a little bit more interesting than they might think. I think a lot of people sort of think of Japan as a new wave band, but this album has a little bit of progressive rock to it. There's a couple songs on here that sort of delve into that. Again, there's a lot of funkiness in this album, catchiness. It's also a very good sounding late 70s album, recorded really nicely. David Sylvain, the singer, always has like a nice swagger. He's a little bit more. His voice has a little bit more attitude back here in the early times, a little bit more rock, a little bit more snarl and whine, depending on your opinion. Of course, he has a unique voice, and and I'm a big David Sylvain fan, whether it be Japan or his solo work. Um, so there's that part of it as well. So David's really strong. Obviously, Mick Carnes is an amazing bass player. In this particular album, I think I'm not sure of his age. He's probably pretty young in this album, but I feel like they haven't really let him kind of do what he can do yet. There's only really one or two songs where his bass playing stands out to me, even to a little bit to the level that I'm used to with other Japan albums. Um, he's a little bit too much into the mix as well, like sonically as well. So like fidelity wise, he's like too lost into the mix. I feel like some of the later albums, he's definitely more pronounced and more allowed to sort of be a leader versus your normal bass player kind of being the support guy. So I do feel like there's a little bit of opportunity for Mick Carnes to show a little bit more, but that could have been in the early days. He wasn't maybe as prominent as, or maybe he wasn't really maybe even appreciated as much as he was later, or given the ability to. There still is some funk in there, and he sort of provides it, but not to the level of later stuff where he's just amazing. Steve Jansen is a very underrated drummer. I feel like Richard Barbary, the keyboard player, always has some unique sounds and definitely helps. I'm not sure if he's doing some of the effects on here or if they're doing it in the studio, but there's some nice effects on a lot of sounds in here that sort of give it a slight electronic edge, and I feel like that's what also helps this sort of glam style become a little bit newer, because they're putting some unique effects on it, it's more of, I don't know if it's because of the cover. It reminds me of like a little bit more like of a heavy metal, like heavy metal sort of feel to them because of their hair in Japan, but it some of their sounds are a little bit more. I would say rock music. I mean, it's glam, but it's a little bit more towards the a futuristic sound of rock and roll in a way. That's so a lot of good things on the album. A lot of good things to say about the album, I should say. The first track, Transmissions, we got 3.25 stars. I think it's a great open. Prog rock guitar, almost a prog rock sound in there. It's kind of unique, cool, nice keyboards as well. 3.25 stars. Unconventional, 3 stars. Wish You Were Black, 3.25 stars. I like the atmosphere on here. Again, some more prog rock. Nice reserve track, stays in the groove. Really cool. 3.25 stars. Performance, a little bit not as good as the last three. It does have a nice funky groove. 2.25 stars. 2.5 stars for Lovers on Main Street. Don't Rain on My Parade's the weakest track on the album for me. It got it 1.75. That's the only track that doesn't me at least sound good, to 2 stars. Suburban Love, my favorite song on the album. Great groove, solo, flow. Mick finally gets a little bit of shine on this album. Again, he's still far too in the background volume wise, but I really like Suburban Love. It's got a nice, it's a longer track, kind of like Television, the last track, verging on 6, 7, 8 minutes. Suburban Love, 4 stars, really cool track. Adolescent Sex, the title of the song, it's catchy, good, cool bass line. It's a good track, but I can't say it's very good. I got 2.5 stars. Communist China, 2.25 stars. Television, one of my second favorite song on the album, 3.5 stars. Great ending, really like it. As far as the opportunities on the album, I can't really pinpoint anything. It's a good album sounding. It's got a good sound. They're all doing, they're all strong on their own instruments, vocals, everything in a mix. Artwork's cool. Whole sound's cool. Some good songs. Can't really say anything bad about it. I add up the stars, and it's 28.25 divided by 10 stars. So it's 2.82 stars average per track. And I got the album at a 67 over 100. Almost at very good. It's maybe a song or two away. I always say that a lot, when something's on the edge of being at the next level. But yeah, a really good album. And again, if you're into like glam rock, or you're into the evolution of rock through the 70s, you gotta listen to this album. I think it'll definitely help you appreciate Japan and that period of time. I mean, this is I grew up with I think the first song I probably ever remember hearing was The Romantics, which I think was 79. I was probably like 3 years old. So, The Romantics, and that's kind of in this vein. I can always remember that guy's voice. What I like about you, what I like about you. The guy's mouth was big. He reminded me of the guy in Menudo. He's like that Silver Spoons episode where Menudo's in it. That was rough. But yeah, the lead singer of Romantics reminds me of Guy Menudo. But yeah, a really good album. 67, very close to being a very good album. It's right there. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Do you guys have any thoughts on this album? Or what's your favorite Japan album? Top 3 songs. That would be even better. Alright, take care.